It doesn't matter. Well, hi with life. Well, they dethroned the Chiefs. If anybody willing to stick their head in and rap with me for a minute. Ugh. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right, sports for real again with Coach Hall. Um, Getting kind of antsy around here, man. We got less than 2 hours to kick off, and coverage has already been going on for several hours now, and actually several weeks. So the anticipation of what's about to take place is finally coming to an end, and we get to see these two teams on the field, and they're going to fight it out. Question is, do the Eagles really have a chance? Are they going to be able to dethrone the Chiefs tonight? Anytime that you have a championship outfit that takes the field or court or wherever, they assert their dominance. And that's what Kansas City is looking to do, to show everybody that not only were we the best team a couple of years ago, we're still there. And after we win it this year, we're going to come back again. That's what they're thinking. Philadelphia is thinking they should have been the team going for their second, at least their second Super Bowl in 3 years. And this is a team that in our way for the second time, and this time we're going to take care of it. You got to admit, though, the Eagles, they have been making the right moves to get themselves back in this position. They're building around a young quarterback. They went and got a running back, and now they're in a much, much better position to win this game than they were in last time. The talk was, can the Eagles compete? Well, sure they could compete, and they showed that they compete, and they actually had a chance to win that game, but they blew it in the end. The difference this year, they got that running back, and if they get a lead like they had last time, they can turn more to the running game and salt the game away that way. But again, it's going to come down to, can Saquon Barkley run the football? I've been saying that since these two teams have been slated to square off a couple weeks ago. And I think what the Chiefs are going to have to do, they're going to have to stop Barkley between the tackles. Now, I see all the little betting lines out there, and everybody's thinking Saquon's going to score a couple of touchdowns, which he might. They expect him to go off in the first quarter, which he could, but I don't think so. I think that everybody and their mama thinks that Saquon is going to come out hot and heavy with the football right away. And I somehow don't think that's going to be the case. How you doing, John? Austin Hendricks say Eagles or Chiefs. I'm going to get to that, but I did say the Eagles earlier. I think that what the Eagles are going to do, they're going to come out with play action pass and try to catch Kansas City napping that way, because they're going to be lined up in that box trying to stop Barkley, and it's going to leave them vulnerable for a play action pass. So maybe the first play of the game, maybe the second. I don't know. But look for a shot by the Eagles off play action to Barkley to try to catch Kansas City in a bad situation. That's what I see happening. But I do say this. I think Kansas City is going to slow Barkley early in the game. But I do think as the game goes on, they're going to be able to get Barkley going. And by the fourth quarter, it's going to come down to, can the Chiefs slow this guy down to get the ball back to win the game? That's the way I see things happening. No bad weather, indoor, perfect conditions, no excuses for nobody. And it's time to play. Now, speaking of New Orleans, this is the Eagles' fifth trip to the Super Bowl. The very first time they played in the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. That game they lost to the Raiders. That was Super Bowl 15. I remember that game. That's when Kenny King went off, and I believe Rod Martin. He was the one with the 3 interceptions against Jaworski, and they didn't play very well that day. Took them a long time to get back. 24 years? They came to Super Bowl 39 in Jacksonville, and they got beat by New England. Very good game. Played a lot better, but New England was just a little bit stronger than they were. 13 years after that, they come to Super Bowl 52, and I forget what that game was, but they actually won that one. That's the game with the Nick Foles, that touchdown he caught. That was Super Bowl 52, and that's the Eagles' victory. And then they came back 5 years after that, and they lost to the Chiefs. So if you're counting, that means the Eagles are 1-3 in Super Bowls. So I asked a question a couple of weeks ago. If the Eagles were to lose today, would it be something that would place them in the same category as the Buffalo Bills, who had lost 4 straight? Before that, Minnesota was the only team. They had lost four championships, and it wasn't back-to-back, but every time they got to the Super Bowl, they ended up losing. They haven't been back since Super Bowl 11 when they were 0-4. Buffalo is 0-4. Now, if Philadelphia loses tonight, that will put them at 1-4. So the question is, are they in the same category with Buffalo as far as Super Bowl futility? Now, before you answer that, I like to keep things in perspective a little bit, because New England, they went on that run with Tom Brady, and he ended up 6-3 in Super Bowls with them. Before Brady was there, they were 0-2, which means that New England, even with tying Pittsburgh for the most wins in the Super Bowl, they also have the most losses. They've lost 5 times, that franchise, and nobody compares them to Buffalo because they were able to get a little run going with Tom Brady. But now, Philadelphia, they're starting to build up Super Bowl visits themselves, and if they were to lose tonight, that would put them at 1-4. So would they be considered as futile as Buffalo? Here's something to throw out there. Most people I haven't heard anybody talk about that. They talk about every little instance and nuances of this game and backstories and everything else that somebody might want to mention, but this is something I haven't heard mentioned. Eagles, this would be their 4th loss if they were to somehow lose that. Now, having said that, that's got no bearing on this game as far as I'm concerned. I think the difference is, well, let me answer the question myself. The difference between the Eagles and the Bills is that this is not continuous. It's almost similar to what Buffalo went through, because the last time they played, they lost, and they're playing against the same team that beat them. So it could be in the back of their mind, like, hey, we lost the first time to the Chiefs. What happens if things start to go wrong again? I mean, is it destined that we can't beat this team? These are the psychological things that players go through. They go to thinking conspiracy theories and get themselves off track. And that was the problem with Buffalo. Buffalo was a great team, but they started to think about things that happened in the past. But what happened in those previous Super Bowls had no bearing on the next game. And they let it get in their heads, and it rolled them through all 4 of those Super Bowls. And that is the reason why they lost, because they still thinking about what happened in the past. Once it's over, it's over. And Philadelphia, I think, is not in the same situation with Buffalo again because of that situation. Now, the only similarities that they have with Buffalo is the fact that they did lose to the Chiefs 2 years ago. And that is the only connection. 2 completely different teams. And with the addition to Saquon Barkley, different style of play somewhat from what they played before. But they do still have Jalen Hurts. And I've been watching Jalen Hurts, just like all the other run style quarterbacks who can throw a little bit. You have to stop his running game. If you don't stop a running quarterback's running game, then that is separate from the quarterback himself running. So if his running back is getting off, you're going to pay less attention to the quarterback because you're trying to patch up this hole. And while you're patching up that hole, he's running around the outside killing you again. So now you got two holes because you got split personalities. You're trying to decide on which hole to plug first. And they got you then. And if you're able to stop that first leak, you can control the second leak. As long as you keep in perspective that this run between the tackles is most important. So when Hurts tries to run, he's going to get a couple of scrambles. He's going to make some plays a little bit outside that pocket. Fine. But you can't let him consistently kill you with that and try to stop the run down the middle. If you're able to slow that quarterback from running the ball, then Hurts, he hasn't shown the ability that he can strictly beat you with the pass. Now, the last game they played against Washington, and he had his play action with the running back. If the receiver wasn't wide open right then, he would pull it and try to run. Once he realized that they may have a spy on him, he runs to the other side trying to find somebody to throw it to, and he eventually throws it out of bounds. So my point is, Hurts is looking for the quick hitter right now. If it's not there, if you force him to pull it and search for receivers, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to find them because once he looks for his initial receiver, he pulls it down, he's looking to run, and then if he can't escape, then he's going to throw the ball away. So the Chiefs are going to have to put him in that situation. But I think that's where the Philadelphia coaches come into play. What they need to do is come up with something that they haven't been doing as much before. Early in the game, we know Barkley's getting the ball. Okay, well, the Chiefs know that too. If they pull the ball down, if they play action the first time they get the ball before they give it to Barkley, somebody's going to be wide open. Edwin CV, how you doing, man? I'm trying to come up with a way to get Philadelphia down the field here. And I think what they're going to do, instead of just everybody expecting Barkley to get the ball right away, I think what they're going to do is pull it on a play action pass and try to catch him for a big gainer down the middle of the field. And if they do that, Goddard would be a good choice, and Devontae Smith would be another good choice. If that doesn't work, maybe you bring in maybe you would bring in a Gainwell at the same time you have Barkley in there, which we haven't seen a whole lot of. Play action to Barkley, hit Gainwell on an angle route. That would be wide open. So there's a lot of things that Philadelphia can come up with that'll be different from what they've shown. But you just got to know that Spagnuolo is going to have his defense keying on Barkley early and often. So this is why I'm saying that they're going to be able to slow Barkley early in the game. But as they start to branch out and get the ball to other places, it's going to open Barkley up, which I think is going to allow him to start to produce more and more as the game goes on. But not right away. They're going to have to find a way to get Barkley some running room because I don't think it's going to be there early. Now, on the flip side, Mahomes, he's going to be looking to hit Kelsey, of course. But I think in the same instance that he's trying to hit Kelsey, they're going to be trying to take him away. So other players are going to have to step up. If that means throwing down the field, I think they're going to have to hit somebody like a Hollywood Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster. One of those two guys are going to make a play early in this game. And don't forget about that guy, Pacheco. You have to get these sideline guys going before you can get Kelsey. And that's what happened against Buffalo. He kind of got going later in the game. He's not going to get off to a fast start. In the past, you've seen Travis Kelce come right out of the gate, the most number one receiver that Kansas City have, and the teams were just letting him run free. How does that happen? That's the last guy that should be left uncovered. But I've seen teams do that. And if he gets loose, Mahomes is going to be looking for him. He's going to hit him. So I think they're going to take Kelsey away, much like Kansas City is going to take Barkley away early in this game, and they're going to have sideline players open it up for their star players, both teams. So it's going to be a cat and mouse game early on, and whoever wins that cat and mouse game early and get their offense fully on track first is probably going to be the team to win this game. Now, from the historical aspect, everybody is looking for Kansas City to get this three-peat because they want to see the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 Super Bowls. Well, they will be the first team to win 3 Super Bowls, but they will not be the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight championships. I'm saying that because Green Bay, they won the last championship before they had the Super Bowl. That was the 65 season. Then they won the first 2 Super Bowls. So by connecting the old with the new, that brought them from the old era into the Super Bowl era, which qualifies them to be the first team to have 3 championships in a row in the Super Bowl era. So you don't call it 3 Super Bowls, but it's virtually the same thing. And when you look at the attendance from the first 2 Super Bowls, it wasn't that great. Um, the stadium wasn't full for those first 2 games, and it wasn't until Namath in Super Bowl III in Miami doing all that talking, um, that's when the Super Bowl really started to get hype, and it started to gain momentum from that point. This is one of the reasons why they had Hank Stram in Super Bowl IV wired up, so they can get out there and promote it and make it more interesting. So he was kind of like demonstrative throughout the game, and you can tell just by the way he was talking that it was kind of like this wouldn't be something he would normally say, but he was emphasizing certain things to make sure it was a popular viewpoint. So from those Super Bowl III and IV, things started to change in that championship game. But before that, you didn't have great attendance. It was no different from a college bowl game where you didn't have maybe little more than half to 3/4 of the stadium full. That's the way those first couple of Super Bowls were. So having said that, that means the 65 championship was just as attended as the first 2 Super Bowls, which means that Green Bay is the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight championships. And that's all a Super Bowl is, an NFL championship. It just made it into something that caught on, and it was great marketing, and you can't fault them for it. All right. So I got 3 votes so far. It says, will the Eagles dethrone the Chiefs? And 67% of you say yes. Well, from all the people I talked to, it looks like they all think that Kansas City is going to get this championship because they're starting to think that the league is rigged. You know, it's entertainment to the highest. And if you think about some of the things that occurred when it comes to things that have never happened before, all of a sudden they seem to happen. The last time that happened with the NFL, if you recall, no team had ever won a Super Bowl on their home field. And what happens is all that talk picked up the Bucks with Tom Brady. They won on their home field. Then the very next year, the Rams won on their home field. So when you talk something up, somehow it just magically happens that way. And the reason why it hadn't happened before because the rotation of the Super Bowl, it made it almost impossible for a team to win because no other team, not only had they not won, they hadn't even played on their own field. Now the Rams, they played Super Bowl 14, but that was in the Rose Bowl. So it was in LA, but not their home field. That was UCLA's home field. The Rams at the time played in Anaheim, the baseball stadium. I don't think it's there no more. I think the Angels have their own field now, but they used to play on the Angels baseball field at that time. Before that, they played in the Coliseum. So never have had a chance to play a Super Bowl on their own. A team couldn't play in their own stadium because those teams really never even made it to that position. But it wasn't like it was impossible. Before they had the Super Bowl, teams actually did play championship games on their home field. So it was not really a big deal. It's just the Super Bowl just had it happen. But nothing unusual. So when things that get spoken suddenly starting to occur, then people started to think that this stuff could actually be rigged. Um, I don't think so, but you can understand how some people would think that. So when this three-peat thing comes up, the only way you can stop that from occurring is have somebody beat Kansas City. And everybody's all excited about this three-peat. And because of that, they're not really talking a whole lot positives about Philadelphia. But it reminds you of Super Bowl 42 when New England was undefeated. Everybody wanted to see a team go undefeated for the first time in 35 years when the Dolphins knocked off Washington. Well, they forgot about the Giants. I've said this several times in the last couple of weeks. The Giants were playing supreme football. And for a 4 or 5 week stretch there, they weren't turning the football over. They were running the football. They were playing field position. All that old school style football that you hear about, playing it the right way. That's the way the Giants were playing that year. And even with that, they beat New England, but it came down to extra preparation time. They had 4 weeks to get ready for New England, and they just happened to have a pass rush that could get to the quarterback. It took all those things to beat New England. And New England is a better team than Kansas City. That team was. They would beat this Chiefs team. But the problem is the Eagles are a whole lot like the Giants were. They have a front four that can put pressure on Mahomes. They're playing against a team who's trying to make history. They are being overlooked. They are playing good defense like the Giants. It's like history is repeating itself. So if you think that Kansas City is just going to waltz in New Orleans, slap the Eagles around real quick and get out of there, you got another thing coming. But this is a team with a look in their eye. They're ready to play some football. And unless they come in there and start turning the ball over left and right, I think Kansas City might have a problem. And I think in the end, the Eagles are going to beat the Chiefs, and they're going to stop them from getting this three-peat. So you can have your Taylor Swift and all this big following around the nation. It does not matter, because when things start to go against the favorite team, that's when the crowd starts to turn against them and go with the underdog. Always been that way and always will be that way. That's why I am a devout road team follower. There's nothing more important to me. Nothing I would like to see better than having a road team go in front of your 100,000 fans, screaming and yelling and throwing things and all of that. But once you start to make a couple of plays and the home team doesn't, then they start to get quiet. Then they start to turn on their own team. That's all advantage to the road team, and I love to see that. So a little different in the pros when you're playing on a neutral field, but it's the same kind of thing. All right, now switching gears a little bit. I told you guys that I was up for a position to be my own high school coach. That's always been a dream. I'm qualified for it, but the way things are going and I'm starting to get older, probably never going to happen. Well, I got another opportunity to apply, and I had a good shot to get it, but interviewed for it, but it went with another candidate. I'm disappointed, but I'm not overly surprised, and I'm not down about it because it opens me up for other things. But I'm going to be watching to see whoever they hire, just what they do. And I had it all lined up, and I know doggone well, had I got that position, I would have turned that team around real quick. And if this new guy comes in and he doesn't know what kind of personnel is there, he doesn't know what's already in place. So he's already several weeks behind from where I would have been. Not saying that that's detrimental to the new coach, but what I am saying is this. A lot of these coaches in high school are like Ike and Mike. They're all alike. They have a certain style of play. They want to do everything they see on TV, and they feel like they can get it done. Well, you got to have personnel to run certain style offenses. And if you think you're going to come in and run a spread offense with the personnel that's in place, you got another thing coming. Now, I will say this. These new modern coaches, they somehow manage to find players to somehow appear and play for them. So with the loose transfer rules they have down here in Florida, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw an influx of players just suddenly start showing up. And if you're going to play your style of play and you're essentially bringing in your own players, then you can do that. But with the personnel that's in place already, you can still win. You just got to play it a certain way. And if I don't see an influx of new people come through that door, then I don't know what the positive outcome is going to be. But one thing the school does have, I've seen, got a bunch of heart. Players do want to win, and they need to have something they can believe in. And that means when you're coaching a losing team, you have to have success early. With the teams that they're playing right now, that can be done. And it just has to be, you have to get off to a good start. Because if you start out 0-2-3, then that can be a negative outcome, and we don't want to see that. But I'll pull for whoever's there, and I offer the same thing I had talked to the last guy. I go out and do a little scouting for you and put your cards together. I'll do that, but under somebody else's time schedule on the practice field, I don't want to do that. I mean, if I was 15 years younger, yeah, no problem. But at my age, no. I'm a field general. I'm not going to be a lieutenant at this age. I mean, it doesn't look right to me. It doesn't feel right, especially when you got other stuff you need to do and you're capable of running that program. And what I've seen with a lot of these coaches, you go for the position, they'll pick them for whatever reason, and then you find out they don't know as much as you know. And this is the reason, because it's happened to me before. I don't want to get into that situation or have to put myself in a position where that could happen again. I don't want to work under somebody who I know couldn't run the program better than me. But for whatever reason, that person was chosen. I don't bemoan none of that. Got no hard feelings, none of that. Wishing the best. But at the same time, I'm not going out there just to find out that you need to be my lieutenant instead of the other way around. And even though I won't show that, it would be obvious to me that that's going to happen. And that's what I see nowadays with these young guys. All they want to do is run everything that everybody else is doing. And when you push come to shove, they can't coach their way out of a bag. But for whatever reason, they got the job. I didn't. So it wouldn't be sour grapes. But by you hear me saying this, it may sound like sour grapes to you, but it's not. I want to see them do well where I am right now. But at the same time, like I say, I'm telling you what reality is when it comes to high school. Mostly high school football used to be whoever had the best talent. You had to be the best coach. You had to be motivated and put the players in the right position, get them ready to play the game. But it was often the team with the best players end up winning the championship. Now it's different because you have these loose transfer rules. You can go play. I don't know if you're familiar with Florida right now, but they have this open enrollment, which was created for academics. So if you're in a bad academic area, you can go over to the next county or you can go across state, wherever you decided to go. If that school district had a space, then they had to take you. There's no turning you away because you're from somewhere else. If they had the space, they had to take you. Well, it was argued that that was going to open it up for athletics, and it did. So in other words, I may get with my buddies and we're going to conspire to go to play for this school down the street. We're going to play football here. We're all going to come here and transfer, do everything right, and go through the season and try to win a championship. Then after that's over with, I can do the same thing with my basketball buddies and go over here and try to win a basketball championship. So that's the second school. I can also transfer in the spring to a baseball or a track school and do my thing over there. And then once that season's over with, I go back to my home school where I started, where I should have been playing all the sports, and graduate. And that's what's going on. The only thing that can stop the players from doing such a thing is for the athletic director to say, you weren't here when we started the season, so we're not going to let you play. So that's the only thing that can stop that. But all these athletic directors, they want to win. They hate to do that, but I've known some people who have done that, and it's unusual for it to happen. So this is why the players are now moving around and jockeying for position. So in essence, what you have in high school football here are all-star teams. So it becomes the haves and the have-not. Who can recruit the best? You're not supposed to be recruiting at all, but somebody's behind the scenes doing the recruiting for you. So that's what it's going to take to compete in this new modern age. All right, Bruce McLean, how you doing, man? Are you? I know you say you were a. This is the Washington fan, right? The guy that went to the same school as Steve Young, and what else? Bruce told me. Was it Bruce? Um, was it? Well, he said something about his daughter. Daughter was a Kansas City fan, something along those lines. I remember. I remember the name though. Um, I don't know if I really want to see a three-peat, Bruce. I mean, I just want to see a good game. If Kansas City can come in here and run off Philadelphia, then they deserve it. But I just don't think that Philadelphia. I think Kansas City is going to be in the wrong place tonight if they think they're just going to waltz in and get a three-peat. I don't see it happening. And only way that it can happen, and I'm not worried about the officiating or none of that. The Eagles are going to have to put the ball on the ground a couple of times. If they do that, then Kansas City probably pull away from them, and vice versa. But I think it's going to come down to, can the Eagles run the ball with Barkley? If Barkley is able to get untracked, 100 yards is deadly, but if he's 150 yards, it's going to be really devastating to overcome for Kansas City. But Kansas City got to stop defensive front too, just like the Eagles. And it's going to come down to, can any one of these quarterbacks get put on the ground? I know that Philadelphia can get to Mahomes, so he's going to have some kind of quick game to keep that heat off him. And I don't know, it's almost best not to even hit Mahomes. It's just rush him real hard and breathe on him. Maybe they won't throw a flag. But I think that Philadelphia's got the talent up front to get to that quarterback. And Kansas City with Jones, they can stop that run. So it's going to come down to, can Philadelphia get to Mahomes, and can Kansas City stop Barkley? But either way, it's going to be a great story to see a team get the first 3 Super Bowls in a row. Contrary to popular belief, they aren't the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight championships, because that belongs to Green Bay. They won the first 2, and the year before that, they won the championship, getting by the Cowboys in 65 and 66. And it would be a good story if Philadelphia was to win it, because they would be the team to stop Kansas City. It would be a revenge against Kansas City. And it would be the bookend story to what we saw in Super Bowl 42. Same kind of thing. So either way, Bruce, it'll be a good story as to what's going to happen. I'm kind of sad, though, because it's the last football game, a real football game, until, August? At the end of August, when the college kick off, we have those spring leagues now. What's it, UFL and USFL, or whatever they call it. I know it's 2 leagues, so I rarely get a chance to catch any of that because I'm always doing something else. But it comes around quick, and especially since they keep pushing the NFL season back. They're talking about extending the season to 18 games with 2 bye weeks. Well, if that's the case, that's 2 more weeks to the season. You're playing the Super Bowl now, the second weekend of February. That pushes it back to the end of the month. When I first started watching the Super Bowl, they were playing the Super Bowl the second week of January. So now we're looking at the end of February. For long, we're going to be into March. It's just greed, man. They're putting player safety at player safety in jeopardy. And they talk about that they care about player safety, but do they really? If you're going to create a flag football league, which is what I think the league is going to, eventually, then yeah, I can see playing a whole bunch of games. But nobody wants to see these muscle guys running around pulling flags. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But that's the only way that you're going to truly eliminate the contact from the game. If you see what's going on, they steady pulling back contact, and there's not a whole lot left to pull back. They're just going to have to come on out and say it, man. No more hitting. But I think that before they do that, they'll probably say no more hitting of the quarterback. Don't even touch him. You already can't hit him high. You can't hit him low. You can't fall on him. Damn. What can we do to him? Not a whole lot. He runs along the sideline. You can't hit him. They're going to throw a flag. So I think football is on the clock as we know it. Only thing that can save it is to get some kind of waiver with the union to say, look, this is a violent, dangerous game. You are aware of that. You need to sign this. And not saying that, you waive all your rights to player safety, but you just acknowledging the fact that this is a dangerous game and you could get hurt, and let it go from there. Because I think the defenses should be allowed to play the game. Everything is all geared toward the offense. Every time you come up with a good defense that stuffs an offense, they change the rules. And it's always been that way. And as long as you have that, then you have an unbalanced league. And they don't have many more things that they can cut out before this is not the product that we call football. But I talked earlier about the tush push. The league is talking about they're going to review this play, and the tush push is probably going to be gone as far as next year. Why? Yes, it's legal now. It's a play that nobody can really stop, and it made the league look bad when they kept throwing offsides penalties against Washington when they were trying to stop it in that championship game. What else can the defense do? I mean, all they're going to do is it's like an avalanche. It's like rugby. It's kind of like a scrum. It's a completely different look from any other play in football. And they're going to take a look and see if it's something that should be outlawed. Now, because they kept getting all those offside penalties, the refs has the option to award the team a score. Well, that's not going to fly too often because they didn't earn it. You kept calling the penalty, and a lot of that's subjective. And you can play with the snap count, and you can induce that. But is that something you really want to see? And the league knows that nobody really wants to see that. But I'm telling you again, if you really want to stop the quarterback from running that tush push, let the Eagles keep running it. And I'm telling you, after seeing what Washington went through, that quarterback's on the bottom of the pile. I already told you that they can't really touch a quarterback. So what's left? This guy's on the ground in the middle of the mix with everybody else. Referees can't see it. So guess what? It's just like what happens on the bottom of a pile when they're fighting for a critical fumble. So a whole lot of eye gouging and grabbing parts and everything else. Somebody's going to take their hand and wrap around that quarterback's throat, choke him. And he's going to go to the sideline. He's going to tell the coach what just happened. And that's going to be into that quarterback running that tush push. We've already seen that of sorts with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, he ran a similar type play a couple of years ago, and he came out limping. He hadn't done a play like that since. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see the Ravens, they use Mark Andrews. He runs that play for them. But the play itself, you see it catch on with Philadelphia, then Baltimore, then Buffalo is doing it a lot. And it just, it's a little different from the quarterback sneak. They need to take the push part out of it to give the defenders a chance. If you don't do that, then I can put my backup lineman, take my running backs out, and you know what's coming. So somebody's going to get hurt in that because you got a push coming this way and a push going the other way. The guy in the middle, he can get crushed. I had that happen to me for the briefest of seconds. I know what it's like to be crushed. I don't know what I was doing. I ran a play, and next thing I know, I ended up on the bottom of the pile. I had about 4 guys on top of me. They unpiled real quick, and if it wasn't for that, I might have expired right then because that's not a good feeling to feel like you're being crushed. And somebody on that tush push pile is going to end up being crushed like that. Sour Hayes, how you doing, man? I'm just in here talking about this game, man. We got less than 2 hours before kickoff, and I'm just waiting like everybody else. I'm not interested in all the extended interviews, and I don't want to see all the singing and all of that. Just show me where the field is and what time you're going to kick the game off. All that singing and dancing and stuff, you can keep that. So you can imagine how I feel about the NFL giving so much attention to a Taylor Swift. That's got nothing to do with the football, so I'm not interested. I don't know anything about her and her music, got nothing against her, but get out of the way when it comes to this football, man. That's all I want to see is football. So that's why I'm sitting here talking to anybody who wants to sit in and talk with me. Appreciate it as always. But I'm getting ready to wrap it up. But I just want to know finally what you guys thought about the Eagles' chances tonight. Right now, I don't have very many votes with the poll. And I understand everybody's out getting ready for their parties and getting ready for entertain people. 50-50. So I'm good with that. Sour Hayes, what's my prediction? I don't have a score, but I've been pretty much saying I got a feeling the Eagles are going to win this game, man. Partly because the historical aspect of it, everybody's making a big deal about it, and all the emphasis is on Kansas City. Very little emphasis on the Eagles. And the Eagles, the way they're carrying themselves, they're not even affected by none of that talk. What happened 2 years ago, they can't even see none of that. So they coming in with laser focus, and they're ready to play some football, man. And I think that the Eagles got a real good chance to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game. All right, you say you placed a bet on Kansas, but I can't bet against a Mahomes legacy game, but wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win. Well, let me ask you about that, Hayes. If the Chiefs are slated to win, now are you betting with a private person or are you betting through like a sports book? Because from what I see with these odds, they're what, a point favorite over Philadelphia. How can you make money on that? I mean, you got to put what, $500 down to make what, six? I don't know if there's any money in that. Now, if you betting a private person, that's different. But you got to make sure you can get paid because you know how some dudes are. They'll bet you all day, but when it's time to pay up, they got a story. That's why some of them get hurt. Because people they have time to play about that money, man, especially in these kind of times. All right, FanDuel Sportsbook got the money line at negative 118. Okay, so if you bet $100, how much would you win? So $1,250 to make. So you have to put $1,200 down to make $1,000. You see my point? Well, even if you win, you're losing, man. Why don't you just bet somebody straight up? Look, man, the Chiefs gonna whip the Eagles. I got $500 on it. What you got? Then you go from there. But I wouldn't bet $1,250 to spend $1,250 to make less. I mean, I don't see how. That's all in the sports book advantage. I know a lot of people down my way, they play those parlays. That's all they talk about, how they can win so much money. But those parlays are really hard to hit. I try to dabble with it myself. Matter of fact, I dabbled with one last night. I've been watching how John Moran, he's scoring points left and right and dunking on people and everything. I picked a parlay with him last night. Everybody came through in the parlay but him, man. And I tell you something else about those parlays. I wonder if the leagues have connection with the betting lines because it's been several times I've seen where players be close to going over the amount that was bet upon, and then they'll pull them out of the game and won't let them play. This is like maybe 8-9 minutes left in the game. They might be a point away from making the number, and then they don't come back in the game anymore. Why is that? So you have to wonder if there's a connection between these leagues and the betting operations. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Single bets is the way to go if you can consistently win at least 70%. All right, so a single bet is something happening in the game or just a straight up win and loss. Because I see they have all those different options that you can use or choose to try to win. Coin toss, who's going to win the first quarter, the odds, and all these different things. Shout out, Chris Ue Mana. How you doing, man? Um, well, you can tell I'm not a better. I just see what's going on. Still 50-50. I got 8 bets now. People say that the Eagles can dethrone the Chiefs. Like I say, I'm. It's not a limb. It was a limb when I said the Giants was going to whip the Patriots years ago. That was a limb, but I don't think so much that this is a limb. Just straight up win or lose a spread, but only one leg, no parlays. Okay, so you just pick a category and go from there. Just put a whole lot of money on it. I can see that. But you know those parlays, you can build them up. The more you put on there, the more money you can make. Um, I did try one time. I put like $3 down, and had a chance to win like $15,000. I don't know how I got like that, but of course you have to have everything. You got to be living right that day for things to go right. Uh, but it makes it fun because maybe you just might get lucky one day. But I'm not really big on betting now. But I just know everybody around me, they heavy into those parlays now. You know, Florida they didn't have ways that you can bet. You had to go out to Atlantic City or Philadelphia, not Philadelphia, but Vegas. It was always popular when people went that way. But now that they got that sports book, before that they had those offshore things, but the government they shut those down. So now you don't need them anymore with the sports book now being available in Florida. But I'm looking forward to a good game, man. But I'm telling you this, I think that it's going to be slow starts for both Kelsey and Barkley because those team game plans are going to be set up to stop them. This is why I say that when the Eagles first get the ball, set up the run, play action to Barkley, and hit somebody deep down the field. Probably Goddard on a flag route. That was going to be there. And they can start out right then, right there, setting the tone for the game because everybody's going to be in that box trying to stop Barkley. And that's what I would be looking for. Same kind of thing with Kelsey. Everybody's going to be looking at Kelsey early in the game. So those other guys, Hollywood Browns and Pacheco's and Smith Schusters, those guys are going to have to step up and make some plays. And it comes down to gamesmanship. Which coach is going to come up with the right formula to throw that other team off? And I think that the Eagles, they get kind of stupid sometimes with their play calling. But I think if they can sit down and come up with a plan early, that first quarter, going to set the tone for what takes place in the game. But at any rate, I think that Barkley is going to come on strong in the second half. They're going to slow him down in the first half, and then he's going to come on strong in the second half. Same thing with Travis Kelsey. Now, to the conspiracy theories again, they had the so-called Super Bowl script, and that script was having Kelsey making a bad play and not feeling good on the sidelines, and all of a sudden get healthy enough that he comes in and brings his team back to win the game late. That's the Super Bowl script that was out there. Conspiracy theories again, but it's possible that something like that could happen. It kind of happened like that last time these two teams hooked up, but I don't see that happening this time. I think Barkley's going to get stronger as the game goes on, and I think he's going to lead that team to victory today. And if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you cannot leave it up to where Mahomes has the ball with one drive to take his team to the victory. Then it would be just like Super Bowl 42, but the Giants put the sack on Brady to put an end to that. And I think you don't want to leave it to that. But I do think that they need to pull away from the Chiefs to have at least a 2-score lead going late to seal it. Because if they don't, I think Mahomes is going to find a way to pull it out again. And I think that that rabbit's foot they've been carrying around, they've been winning an awful lot of one-score games. And I think it's time for that to be reversed. And I think the Eagles are going to be the one to do it to them. So that's just the way I see it, man. If you got a different take, somebody let me know. But right now, half of you think that the Eagles can win this game, and most people are expecting Kansas City to win the game. But I think when you throw the historic aspect out there. I think that works against Kansas City because that's all everybody's been talking about. That's all you hear about. They're hearing the same thing, doing all these interviews. They ask them the same kind of questions. So it's all out there. It is a factor in the game. It is a detractor to the Chiefs. One less thing that the Eagles don't have to deal with. And with that front four, they have the pressure to get to Mahomes. The question is, can they get to him enough? Barkley is going to get stronger as the game goes on, and I expect the Eagles to win the championship. This will be their second, and that will put them at 2-5 in Super Bowls. So that kind of throws out the 1-4 and coupling with the Bills, four-time losers, to join Minnesota. So all these different angles that's tied up into this game, I think the Eagles can put all that to bed by knocking off Kansas City. But it should be interesting. So I hope you guys have a great time. I know you're all throwing parties. I'm not doing any parties. That's trouble. Plus, you never get a chance to watch the game anyway. Everybody's talking about everything except the game, and I have no interest in that. So I'm going to get me a little corner, and I'm going to watch the game without all the distractions. So I'll give you a clear take on that tomorrow morning. I'll be on at right about 6:30, 6:35 like I've been, and we'll talk a little football. So until then, you guys have a great game. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. This is Sports for Real. Like and subscribe. Till next time, I'm out.